Well, we're going to find out how to bridge the Great Divide in the Brunel experience.
I'm now standing on one of the most famous bridges in the world. This is the Clifton Suspension Bridge, and its designer was Isambard Kingdom Brunel. Isambard Kingdom Brunel was one of history's greatest engineers. He designed many bridges in his lifetime. This was his first. It all started on the 1st of October 1829, when an advertisement appeared in a number of newspapers challenging engineers of the day to design a bridge across Bristol's Avon Gorge. There was no shortage of ideas. The design that eventually won the day was Brunel's. It was quite an achievement for an engineer who was only 24 years old and who'd never designed a bridge before. What's even more remarkable is that it stood the test of time, carrying considerably more traffic than Brunel ever imagined. What favoured Brunel's designs was the strength of these suspension chains up here. Now, at the time that the bridge was built, this was one of the longest spans ever to be crossed by a suspension bridge. From one end to the other, it's 214 metres. Sadly, Brunel never saw his design become reality. He died before the bridge was completed. When it eventually opened on the 8th of December 1864, it was acknowledged to be one of the greatest achievements of the 19th century. But that was the work of one of yesterday's technologists.
These are today's technologists, and they've accepted our challenge to build a bridge which will span from here to there. The bridge will be 1.5 metres long, and it will rest on these two ledges.
The problem was tackled by over 170 young technologists from schools all over the country during a 4-day course at Brunel University. It was one of several problems they were to meet in the days that followed.
What's your idea so far? We tried to build a platform with sort of arch support.
String going down to support it.
So where are you getting all your strength from?
Well, basically from the two girders going over, and then the string comes down to suspend the bridge.
Oh, suspension bridge?
It is, but it's an arch one. So you haven't got a secure suspension bridge.
So what are you using as the actual materials for the arch bit?
It's the plastic pipe.
Yeah.
What's your plan of action? Well, we were thinking of having a sort of arch bridge, with the whole structure being supported from an arch. But we've gone off that idea now because of the problems we think we've had actually bending the material and holding it there. Yes. So we're thinking about a truss structure now.
A what structure?
A truss.
And what materials will you be using for that?
Well, that's what we're discussing now, actually.
This is the selection of materials they can use to build their bridge. And they have to buy everything from the store behind me, using a currency called bucks. Now, as in everyday life, everything, of course, costs a different amount of money. So, for instance, if they want to use this bamboo cane, which isn't very flexible, it's not very strong, and it's relatively cheap, it's only $7 a metre. If, on the other hand, they want something longer, stronger, and more flexible, like this plastic tubing, that's somewhat more expensive. And to hold it all together, they can use sellotape, which is quite cheap, only $5 a roll, or they can use string. That's, of course, a lot stronger, but it's also more expensive. So, now it's up to the groups to decide exactly what they want to buy to build their bridge.
What will the judges be looking for in the bridge? Well, first, it must be strong enough to carry one person. Second, it must be attractive. Third, they're looking for the cheapest bridge possible. And fourth, it must face the ultimate test. It must be as strong as possible.
And there's one other factor, a time limit. They've got just 3 hours to design and build the bridge. At the moment, the groups are still at the designing stage.
We're reaching more of a definite plan. I mean, before it's like 3 different ideas. Now it's bringing them together.
The main problem seems to be coming up with a design that'll give the necessary strength at a reasonable cost.
What's your idea?
We're going to go for the cheapest. We're just sort of like going to wedge plastic piping and just put the cane through it to support it.
The pipe.
Well, we don't even know if the cane is going to go through the pipe.
We think
it will do it, but it won't. Or do we need to ask if we can go?
just wrap around inside. It's not going to help us.
It gives it extra strength and stops it bending,
Yeah.
so both got to bend.
Yeah.
Interesting idea, that, increasing the strength by putting the bamboo canes inside the plastic tubes.
Pipe like that. And then you look at the pipe.
A lot of thought seems to be going on in this group. It looks as though they're trying to get the necessary strength and rigidity by fixing the bamboo canes to the outside of the plastic tubes. But the joining material will cost them extra. Getting a clear idea of your design on paper is an important part of problem solving. Just imagine yourself as Brunel over 100 years ago, faced with the challenge of designing a bridge over the Great Avon Gorge. What materials would you use? How would you get the necessary strength? What were Brunel's solutions?
We're here in Bristol University Library, where they've got a whole lot of Brunel's original notebooks. And I've got the one here for the Clifton Suspension Bridge. And it's full of calculations for every part of the bridge. For instance, he's got a detailed drawing of one of the suspension links which will hold the roadway, and he's marked on it all the dimensions. And over the page, there's a sketch of one of the piers which will support the chain. And in this book, we've got a beautiful pencil sketch of how Brunel thought the pier may look when it's finished. Now, Brunel didn't do these drawings just for his own amusement. They were so that he could communicate his ideas to other engineers and to the people who would actually build the Clifton Bridge. The material which Brunel specified that should use to build this bridge was wrought iron, which is this stuff here, and you can see that they've made it into one of the links just like in Brunel's notebook. And the great property of wrought iron is it could withstand massive pulling forces.
Well, Francis, this is one way of bridging the gap. Now, how does it work exactly?
The main thing is this great cable or this great chainsaw. It comes up over here, and the tower is actually supporting its weight downwards, and then the chain comes on down there, and it's anchored very deep in the ground. Now, the deck, the part that you actually go over, is hanging from that. That's why we call it a suspension bridge.
The deck itself isn't rigid, is it?
Oh no, look, it can set a lovely wobble like that, put a weight on here. You can see how the whole thing distorts to another shape.
Now, that's one type of bridge. What other types are there?
Come over and we'll see some more.
Well, this is an arch bridge, and I suppose if you look at it, it's a bit like a suspension bridge upside down, isn't it? But why is this one wobbly? Look.
This is because the blocks are just curved at one place, so they only touch there, and that's where they have to be pushing. This is where the arch is really different from the suspension bridge. Look, if I lift them apart, you can see there's nothing holding them together. They are just pushing. The suspension bridge is just pulling.
So this is compression, and the suspension bridge is tension.
Yep, and you can see you can make it wobble like that other one. But if I put a load on it here,
Right.
see, now it's gone to a quite different shape, and this line here is where the thrusts are running through it. It actually runs up there, and there it's nearly got outside the bridge, and that's where it would collapse. I'll put a bit more weight on it, and you'll see it happen. You watch how it hinges up there, and...
Going, going, and it's gone.
Well, Francis, I suppose this is the simplest form of bridge.
Yes, this is just a simple beam, Max. But what we've got here, of course, is a very thin one, and that's why it's so flexible. But while you're putting your load on it, the top of it is actually in compression, and the bottom is in tension. Now, you can see a better version of this if you look at a truss, which is actually almost the skeleton of a beam. Come down and have a look at this one. Now, you see here, I've used chains for the tension part, and these bars are the compression part. Try standing on it, see how much stiffer it is. Yeah. And yet, if I pick it up and bend it round like that, you see there's nothing there. It's only when it's arranged like that, with those chains at the bottom in tension, and the bars at the top in compression, you've got a really deep, stiff skeleton of a beam.
How many plans have you gone through?
Several. We've changed our objective as well.
Why?
Well, we were going to do the prettiest bridge with the bamboo, but we found we couldn't bend it to the right angle for our plan that we made, which was...
First designs don't always work.
So we've decided to go for the highest load carrying bridge instead. So because we've had some quite good ideas on strength.
Where's the strength going to come from?
This is going to be grey tube and probably with bamboo inside as well for extra strength.
And these plastic tubes to make it strong. Yes.
Well, that was just an idea.
So if you get 4 metres of bamboo,
The next problem's working out the quantities of materials you need at a price you can afford.
we might not even need the string. Don't get the string yet, because if it's sort of like strong by itself with the bamboo...
Yeah, but we're going to need the string to hold it on, because we can't really... Well, let's see.
No, if you drill holes, we've got glue, so that doesn't cost anything if you drill holes through. That actually keeps the bamboo in place.
Yeah, we're not sure that we can get it the right thing so that we can get the bamboo through.
Yeah.
And if we drill...
Well, let's get it and try it then.
Well, it's worth a try.
A thicker one, cut up, but only 1 metre of it.
Yeah.
What, this one?
Yes?
You only want 1 metre?
1 metre. Well, look, can we give you the 2.5? And I'll put it down as 2.5, and when you bring me back the 1.5, I'll take it off. Okay? Okay.
So you can cut up...
This is looking good, but would you trust the idea?
Yeah.
How are the other groups going to get the strength they need from the materials?
Just tie these together and then we'll finish that off later. We don't have to do it.
How are you actually putting all this together? You're obviously using cross struts to support it, but how's it going together?
The base is like a square shape with a struts going across to secure it, and a diagonal to secure that. That fits onto there, and we've got also like struts going across there, and it's like a box structure.
How have you chosen this approach?
Well, that's this one side. We're going to do the same thing the other side.
See, when you walk along this, as that goes down, when you've got your weight on it, this is pulled down by the string and they're pulled out. So as you pull these down, they'll go out and push against the two sides of the stand.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
This one looks rather strange. How's it going to work?
Well, it's upside down at the moment.
Oh, I see. I was going to say, where's the suspension?
Yeah, and it'll rest here.
Yeah.
And actually, when the weight's on the bridge, the curve will want to straighten out.
Right.
And these will stop it doing so, hopefully.
Do you think this will be strong enough for the weight
We're
of the
just wondering at the moment.
Yeah.
We might perhaps have to put another bit in.
I know that your team has had a false start and you had to change plans halfway through, and you've gone back to your original plan. Can you explain it for me?
Right, we got the basic pipes, shoved a long length of bamboo down each one.
Why?
Try and give it some extra rigidity. That's a mouthful.
Never mind. Modifying ideas is all part of problem solving.
Make it a bit more rigid. The last thing we want is it bowing so much that they fall out the ends, and to prevent them actually separating. Yeah.
Where are you going to walk over?
Place the board on the top and go over.
What's the problem?
Well, first idea didn't work.
What was that?
We were
fit in the tubes into it across like that, so that we could suspend it on top. But we realised that we suddenly had a step. And when we pulled them together, the plastic was just snapping.
So you got quite a long way with that idea.
Yeah, and then we had to start again.
Are you going for the strongest bridge or the prettiest bridge? Strongest. Strongest. It's not going to be the cheapest, is it, with all this? No. Right, so you reckon you're all going to get on it?
I doubt it.
I think testing this one could be precarious.
We just hope these stay up and they don't come down, that's all.
It's going to sit this way up, is it?
That's
Yeah.
right.
And where are you going to walk?
Across these bits here.
Cross on this.
Where does it get its strength from?
From this. This is reinforced with bamboo as well.
I see. And what's to stop these coming off the end?
They've got drilled through with string tying them on.
You're running out of time.
Yeah.
So
We wasn't going to do this, so we don't know how it's going to work. Whoever stands here, it's going to sort of spread their weight around like that.
So people are going to have to walk across it very gently.
Well, that's it. Time's run out. But will they get across the gap?
Step over it in the middle.
Each team's been given a sheet of hardboard to walk on. Now, I can assure you it won't change the strength of the structure.
Complex. But that's hidden, so I think that's quite good.
Yes, well, this design supports at least one, but the criterion for success is that it should support two. Will it? Looking good. Go on. Go on. Ah, well, back to the drawing board. But of course, strength isn't the only criterion.
Which group? Which group?
X.
Perhaps this design will be more successful. It's certainly an interesting structure. Perhaps they're hoping to win the prize for the best design. Oh dear. Now this looks a kind of truss bridge. It may have sufficient strength, but what would you give it for looks? Oh yes, it's definitely got the strength, at least for one person. How about two?
Back in the middle of the board. Only go now.
Will it? Will it?
Go on, a bit further.
Pretty good, but what will it score? Here's another interesting structure, a kind of arch bridge. It seems to be holding with only one arch. Or does it? And yet another arch bridge. Looks like a much better design this time. Now for the real test. Oh, what a pity it was looking so hopeful.
Basically, a series of crisscrosses that aren't actually linked together.
Ah, yeah, so he qualifies because he walked across, although he didn't stand on it. Now, is he going to stand?
There seems to be hardly anything to this design. Surely it'll never take the weight of two. Or will it?
Yes. Yes, yes.
Success at last. But would you trust this design to cross the Avon Gorge?